Greetings shippers, welcome back, and it's Voltron time yet again. And I'm pleased to announce that once more we have partnered with Amino Apps. Specifically the Voltron Amino, a platform that some would argue has given them the best Voltron experience. The Voltron Amino is a fun, interactive fandom hub that can be downloaded for iOS or Android. It features a wide score of activities that one can partake in. Some of my favorites definitely include scrolling through the beautiful fan art. There's also fan theories, polls, people sharing their cosplays, and so much more. The Voltron Amino is also very dedicated to keeping its space a safe, fun, positive space for all fans. Following this video, I'm going to have a post on there about what we hope to see in Season 8. You'll be able to get there by downloading the app. The link will be in the description down below and in the comments. I hope to see you there. Now, as we are about to discuss Voltron, we must of course issue a disclaimer. This is by no means a bashing space, and we come at topics on this channel from a variety of different angles. We're also going to be taking a look at more than just Sheith. We're also going to be taking a look at the evolution of Voltron as a fandom as it has gone on, because the shipping culture and Voltron's overall fandom culture in many cases have become intertwined, and so it seemed unfair to talk about one without the other. So we're going to cover a lot of things, and people have some very strong opinions about those things, which is absolutely fine and wonderful, and I can't wait to hear them all. The only caveat is to share them respectfully. There has been a movement in Voltron at the time of this recording towards Voltron positivity, and it's something we can also very much stand behind in the comments down below. Voltron is a fascinating discussion, and it doesn't have to be a vitriolic one. So for those hoping for either a bashing vid or a lauding vid, this is not going to be that. Which, if it's not for you, that's 100% fine. I'll hopefully see you in another vid. If it is, and you want to explore a whole bunch of different facets of the Voltron fandom and Sheith, then welcome. Especially in this pre-finale time, a time that most people will probably not remember post-finale. Before we get started, I must note that we have discussed Sheith quite a while back, so if you missed it, please click the card or the link will be down below, because we're not going to cover everything that we did in that video, and that video very much laid the foundation for what Sheith is. Also, just check it out if you want to have a bit of a blast from the past as to what the fandom landscape was like back then, which was not that long ago at the time of this recording, but feels very long in fandom terms. There's a lot to talk about, so let's get started. Before we update Sheith, we must first set the scene. Netflix's Voltron reboot has proven to be immensely successful, popular, and within certain fandom circles, polarizing. The series garnered a wide range of fan attention from diverse fan groups with different interests, including cultivating a large shipping and transformative fan base, a development that many feel was unprecedented by the cast, crew, or studio, as can be evidenced in interviews with series executive producers Lauren Montgomery and Joaquim dos Santos, where they expressed surprise at the popularity of the series' dominant fan pairing, Clans, with Lauren stating, "Yeah, I'm just gonna invite all the hate mail on myself and say I wasn't expecting Clans. We knew about shipping, but I had no idea that those two characters would just take off such the way that they did. That was kind of a surprise to all of us. Just to see that thing, that ship, just dominate was like, whoa, where did this come from?" This and other statements such as Santos saying, "I think strangely enough, let's say it in another universe, we were to like completely go down a road relationship-wise. It's forbidden fruit that makes it a desirable thing. It's those little inklings that people are able to find and make their own that makes it such a special thing, versus if it were just served up on a platter. It wouldn't really resonate as much." Led to some fans believing that ultimately cast and crew weren't really certain how to interact with fandom, particularly one as passionate and oftentimes virulent as Voltron's, but that they wanted to. It was clear at the start that not everyone was on the same page, with cast and crew giving different answers regarding different ships, based upon their own personal feelings. While well-intentioned and an attempt to interact with fans in general, it ended up causing fractures amongst these fans, some of whom would listen to certain creators over others. As a result, there are certain members of the staff who have received their fair share of hate. Particular victims of this were Lance's voice actor Jeremy Shada, Shiro's Josh Keaton, who would later steer clear from commenting as often after a slew of death threats, petitions to get him fired, and more were circulated, post him commenting that people could ship who they wanted in the days prior to the character's ages being revealed. Continuing on, we have Pidge's voice actor, Bex Taylor Klaus, and showrunner and executive producer Laura Montgomery, who some would argue has received the brunt of the hate, including what some have recently interpreted as some shady likes from one of the She-Ra staff, though some argue that is Jeremy Shada, who recently at the time of this recording received his own barrage of hate, since he spoke up about what he viewed as fans willfully misinterpreting what were meant to be fun instances of fan engagement.
Jeremy's just like secretly trying to confirm it, they won't let him confirm it, so he's like giving us little hints, dropping little things, and we're the fandom Sherlock Holmes just piecing it together. We're getting it, this means this. They have like the whole web wall of like, you said this, this, he said this, he wore that shirt, that must confirm it. That photo had a filter that was this. Oh, the colors, guys. It's confirmed.
You got a little bit of red, a little bit of blue.
Yeah,
you know what that means.
Exactly. You know what that means. And that's the funniest thing to me is I won't be thinking about it in any way, shape, or form. And then afterwards I'm like, oh.
I'll wear a purple shirt today.
Yeah. So that's where it all comes from. So to answer your question, which I'm totally just completely avoiding in every way, shape, and form possible, I don't know.
This statement, delivered in such a volatile landscape, and perhaps not as well articulated as it could have been, led to quite the uproar, as Voltron's fandom had become quite the volatile landscape on a great many fronts, particularly Tumblr, a site certain early Voltron fans were now encouraging newer fans to steer clear from if they wanted to have a calmer, happier fandom experience. As mentioned in our Tumblr Purge video, Tumblr is very fragmented. As a result, people can have very different experiences on there. Some people's Voltron Tumblr experiences have been fine. After Sheith's statements, he was then accused of leading fans on, queerbaiting them, and ultimately it all degenerated into attacks against the actor's race, gender, and sexuality. While an argument could be made that Sheith and others have not interacted with their fan base in the best way possible to diffuse the growing theories and handle the mounting toxicity, the harassment of others because one does not agree with the opinion they expressed on a series that is ultimately not fully in their control is not something to be lauded, but sadly had become commonplace within the Voltron fandom. All of this is to say that the Voltron fandom had become quite a tense place leading up to the finale, with much disillusionment from fans and shippers, particularly following the what has come to be viewed as mishandling of Shero's boyfriend Adam, both from an announcement standpoint at how the reveal was handled at Comic-Con, but more pointedly from a marketing standpoint on DreamWorks' end, which still continues to use images of Adam to market that season. As a result, some feel that the crew is unfairly taking sole responsibility for this error, when instead it is multifaceted. All of this is to set the stage. For many fans have had a positive Voltron experience, and may be unaware that any of this occurred, this being because they may not have been shippers, or may not have been involved on the more problematic platforms when it comes to toxic fans, or may simply have been more casually invested, or a lurker. The latter two can protect many fans from the innermost dark sides of fandom. Not all Voltron fans are bad, and one should not be ashamed to be a Voltron fan or a shipper. However, it must be acknowledged that as a whole, the fandom tends towards toxicity. It is not merely cherry-picking a handful of incidents. These have happened consistently throughout, and instead, the hallmarks of positivity have come to be the bastions, and on certain platforms, the exceptions. And unfortunately, as a result, this fandom can serve as an example of what fandom should in many ways not be. One can only hope that post the series' conclusion, the fandom can become a healthier, more welcoming place, as it seemed it was going to be at the show's outset. Throughout the series' history, there's been an ongoing ship war between the pairings of Sheith and Clance. While there have always been multi-shippers, their voices were largely drowned out in the vitriolic barrages these two groups would lob at each other, with special notes being given to Clance, largely because of its bigger size, which allowed for incidents to grow and have more participants, which is not to say that other shippers could not be awful, because they indeed could be. This problem extended far beyond shippers, in fact, to fans in general. Sheith has long been a contentious ship, as from the start, attacks against it were lobbied from a moral standpoint, in an attempt to paint those who shipped it as bad people, pedophiles, and the least extreme cases, people who simply didn't understand the plot. Despite all of this, Sheith continued to flourish, and as the seasons went on, the divide widened, meaning that shippers of this pairing became more and more convinced of its validity, while its detractors, similarly, became more and more entrenched in their view. So how exactly did this occur? What caused the pre-existing schism of friends or lovers to widen? Let's start off with what shippers like about this pairing. For many, it comes down to the clear closeness these two share, have always shared, and as the seasons have gone on, more and more has been revealed about these two and their connection that supersedes the depth of feeling between many other characters, at least overtly. It can be argued that these two share the most significant character growth moments together, and as the series has gone on, these have gotten more and more intense, as Shiro has helped shape Keith into the man and leader he has become. Fans are quick to point out how the two save each other, rely on each other, and believe in each other unconditionally, and are willing to go above and beyond for the other. Fans are also quick to state that many of the sequences, particularly in late season season 6, early season 7 seem to be suggestive, in the postures of the characters, in the length of gazes held, and other small animation details. The pairing saw a significant spike after season 6, largely because of comparisons drawn in an image still of Voltron when compared with a similar still from The Legend of Korra, the latter shot being the one in Korra's finale that directly led up to the reveal of the canonicity of Korrasami. There are many who feel that Voltron is a breast with hidden clues, particularly about pairings, that are scattered through the series. Most draw these comparisons to The Legend of Korra. This has always been the case, and a similar method has been employed to attempt to prove clans, with the addition of the red and blue shipping theory. The Legend of Korra is employed because of the staff overlap, which was reported when the series was announced, which has led fans since the beginning to believe that Voltron will share significant similarities in how ships were handled as Korra. However, the overlap is not as big as many seem to think, consisting of a handful of key staff with different roles than what they had had on Korra in the animation studio, Mur. And just because one worked on another project does not mean they will act the same way on another, for a variety of reasons, differing interests, also differing work environments. Each production is different, and what they will allow and how much leeway they will grant changes depending upon where one is. Still, this moment, alongside a declaration of love, galvanized Sheith shippers to the point that many are firmly convinced that their ship may be endgame, or at the very least that it has firm roots and does not deserve to be mocked, as Sheith shippers have begun to feel less and less shame about their ship, partially as pushback and also because of the reveal of characters' ages. As discussed in our previous Sheith video, while the ages were not confirmed officially, the assumptions made by many Sheith antis was that the ship was predatory, and was also wrongfully labeled as pedophilic, which even if the ages had been 16 and 25, as people surmised, it would not have been technically accurate to label the ship as pedophilic. While the assumption of those ages did indeed make the squick factor more understandable for many, there was also a sense amongst certain fans observing all of these happenings that the term pedophilia was being employed either because people did not know what it meant or as a way to discredit the ship, and hence legitimize others. While some did have legitimate concerns, they were quickly drowned out by others within the shipping battle. It was during this period that Josh Keaton found himself aggressively attacked for his views that fans could ship what they liked, and that with headcanons the characters could be whatever ages they wanted them to be. It must be reiterated again, all of this occurred without the official ages being known. There was a guidebook, but it was nebulous in its relation to canon, and the official site vaguely described the group as a group of teens. However, by season 6 the ages had been announced, alongside the fact that the characters had been aging throughout the series, and as a result, that argument against Sheith for many no longer held water. However, protests because of age gaps were not over, nor were the claims of incest. While the characters have had a couple of moments where they express their love, which is always a cause of great celebration within the Sheith fandom, it is usually attached to a follow-up about their brotherly bond.
You're my brother. I love you.
Which has understandably led many to view their relationship as familial. While some are content to leave it there, some have taken to attacking Sheith shippers for willfully misinterpreting a text and bringing sex in where it doesn't belong. Some counter-arguments by Sheith shippers are that as a brother can be a cover or a version of no homo, or that relationships evolve and change. Indeed, that is part of the appeal of Sheith, that of exploring a deepening of an already close relationship, the beloved friends to lovers trope, with an added flavor of mentor-mentee. Fans of this pairing also cite that the staff have left it open, some viewing statements given as hints that Sheith is coming, while others will use other interviews to indicate that the relationship is meant to be read as familial, as official statements have long been part of what drives the Voltron fandom, and it is difficult to track the statements, particularly for a more casual fan, or one who doesn't like to engage with that type of press material, as because of how quickly the seasons have been released, there has been a near constant barrage of interviews, some text-based, some video-based, and not all have follow-up transcripts. All of these interviews usually involve some form of question about character growth or ships, and the direction the show is taking, making it hard for fans to keep up. Hence, there can be contradicting statements or new statements made later that not all fans may see, and fans can find themselves arguing back and forth, bandying interview quotes, while other fans utterly disregard any interview statements. This can depend on whether one is seeking canonicity or just the freedom to ship. There has been a push in Voltron since the early seasons that shipping should be about making one's couples canon, and that if that is not the point, then what is the point of shipping? Which has caused further schisms in fandom, for there are many shippers who feel that no, it shouldn't, and that while one can hope for their ship to become canon, ultimately it is the creative team's story to tell. However, while the season's progression has brought in more and more Sheith shippers, even converting some who had been on the fence before, particularly post-age reveal, others were pushed the other way. This gap widened further still with season 7, which expanded upon Shiro and Keith's backstory and revealed that they had met while Keith was still in school, in a sequence fans whose animation very much highlighted their 7-year age gap. The argument is that since Keith and Shiro met while Keith was so young, their relationship is inherently creepy/predatory. On the flip side, there are shippers saying that while they may have met then, they imagine the relationship arising many years later, and argue that people's relationships are allowed to change, and that as people grow, they come to view the people around them differently, and that it is important to take account of what occurred within the series, and how these two have changed therein, and how their experiences there could have made them reevaluate their relationship. Also citing that these two have spent significant stretches of time apart, which they feel negates the grooming argument. Sheith also has a very firm LGBT shipping fanbase, which often find themselves ignored. Some of these shippers find this development and their slight age gap realistic, as historically it was not uncommon in a less safe time for certain couples to begin as young people seeking guidance about their sexuality, as they could not find it elsewhere. Though some argue that this read needs to change and not be celebrated, as it leans too close to the predatory gay man stereotype. Sheith is working through many issues, many not of its own design, that have been placed upon it because of the type of fandom it is in. Voltron has become a very contentious and discourse-heavy fandom, and as a result, it can be difficult to discuss one without the other, depending upon the topic. Some feel that the Voltron fandom in general has co-opted social justice terminology in hopes of furthering their own ships rather than actually discussing issues, muddying the waters for those who are trying to have serious discussions about what in many cases are serious topics. Others feel there has been a shift in online interaction in favor of these types of discussions, from articles to how social media itself is designed. This for some is coupled with the rise of an encouragement to identify with fiction, which can prove to be a double-edged sword, especially when it comes coupled with concepts such as the idea that fans co-own characters, as some fans will tend to find themselves over-identifying, or getting upset or hurt on a character's behalf as they can no longer separate from them. As a result, certain fans are attempting to judge other people based on the characters or ships that they enjoy. This is different than having complaints or critiques about how the plot handles certain story elements or characters, vis-a-vis overplayed tropes, or even problematic and unwelcome ones, and instead speaks to excitement over characters, whether they represent one or not, being twisted into something else. There is a balance to be found between identification and separation of fiction and reality. It is a fine line to walk, and some walk it easier than others. This can also be determined based upon one's subject positioning, which can affect the types of media that they've interacted with. There are some who have labeled this as a youth problem. Though there are adults, this is a predominantly younger fandom. Not children per se, though some are, but on a younger trend. So many highlight new fans entering fandom and learning how to navigate it as part of the problem. The internet can also quite quickly become an echo chamber where one only sees their own thought process parroted back, so that even a minor disagreement can come to seem shockingly combative. All of this coming together, some feel, can lead to a very heightened atmosphere. Voltron has been accused of many things, from racism to sexism to transphobia, to normalizing the sexualization of teens and of sexual harassment. For many, the fandom is too scary to think about entering. Discourse can be wonderful, as can engaging with works on a deeper level, but it is indeed a skill to engage in it productively, and like any skill, it takes time to cultivate. And sometimes the online medium is not the best for that. Some feel that Voltron, and Sheith and clans in particular, simply got caught up in a cultural moment that played itself out through these pairings, and others simply feel it was a toxic fandom. Sadly, incidents such as these come to color how the mainstream views fandom and shipping and youth culture, for shipping is often misidentified as a purely youth activity. For some, particularly those who have had a drama-free experience with Sheith, this video may be disappointing, as they merely want to hear about the ship. However, because of how the ship has evolved, at this point it is more than just a ship, and is embroiled in the discussions that surround it, as well as discussions about Voltron itself. There are some fans who have always loved Sheith, content to produce their art and fics regardless of what anyone else says, and there are some truly beautiful works out there, and so many intriguing fics, so many AUs, from canon divergences to past fics to future fics, to mermaids, wings, pirates, and more. It has drawn more shippers to it as it has gone on, and some feel that as the finale approaches, the fandom is calm, though some fear it is the calm before the storm. While many hope for a last-minute Sheith reveal, or glance, others have given up hope of that, do not care, or even hope that there are no ships at all. For many fear what the fandom is going to look like after the series' conclusion. Once all the dust is settled, Sheith will be one of the legacies of Voltron, which has become a juggernaut of a fandom, and may indeed prove to be a lasting one, though on that point, time will tell. As for those who have different reads of this ship, brothers or lovers, lovers. It is unlikely the two views can be reconciled, as they do come from different text reads, though some can and do understand and enjoy both. However, one doesn't have to agree, but simply acknowledge that this disagreement does not mean one is a better or worse person or fan because of it. Voltron has been a learning experience for many, especially those within fandom. Indeed, it has driven some out of it permanently, and others it has shown the joy of, and they will now be perpetual creators. It has in no way been a monolithic experience, and one that is not likely to be forgotten by those who experienced or witnessed it anytime soon. Are you a Sheith shipper? If so, share your favorite moment. If not, tell us why. What has your overall fandom experience with Voltron been? What do you wish had been different? And finally, if you have them, please share a positive Voltron fandom story down below to uplift people and remind them that there are good Voltron fans out there. As always, that was too many questions, so you know the drill. Answer as many as you can, numbered if possible, because I expect many an essay comment. Next video will hopefully be a little more upbeat. I know this was very dense, but it's important to talk about things like this, especially because a lot of the little nuances of what went on in fandom are lost over time. And it's important not to let those things go, so people can't downplay either how good or bad a fandom was. Thanks so much for taking some time out of your day to slog through fandom with me. I always appreciate it. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so if you haven't already, please do subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you never miss a vid. I will see you again soon, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons, names on the side, for helping to make these videos possible. There are, as always, more videos coming soon, so until then, stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.